the power to walk away, to stand firm, and to take back control of your own destiny. And that's when she starts to wonder. She'll wonder why you didn't chase, why you didn't beg, why you didn't crumble like all the others. She'll begin to question herself, to doubt the very game she thought she had mastered. And in that moment of doubt, she'll realize something important. You are no longer a pawn in her game. You are the king of your own world. And that, my friend, is where true power lies. When you stop needing her, when you stop chasing her, when you stop allowing her to control the narrative, you become an enigma. You become the man who cannot be easily forgotten, because you were the one who didn't follow the script. You were the one who made your own rules, and in doing so, you made yourself unforgettable. 3. Withdrawal of attention. Your power. At first, she didn't notice the subtle shift. It was a quiet change, almost imperceptible, but it was there. You became quieter. You were less available, emotionally and physically. The constant texts, the phone calls, the reassuring words, all of that faded into the background. You didn't disappear altogether, but you pulled back just enough for her to notice the absence. At first, it might have seemed like just a minor shift, a slight change in your behavior. But over time, as your attention became scarce, as the space between your interactions grew, she began to feel something she wasn't prepared for, a void. This wasn't about being petty or about playing mind games. It wasn't about making her feel guilty or manipulating her into seeking your attention. It was far more profound than that. You withdrew because you realized something crucial. Your attention is valuable, and you were giving it away too freely. The moment you began to withhold it, you changed the dynamics. She felt a loss, a vacuum that she couldn't easily ignore. She started to replay moments in her mind, trying to figure out what had changed. Was it something she said? Was it something she did? She wondered why you were no longer so eager to be at her beck and call. She couldn't understand at first, because she was used to your availability, used to the constant stream of attention. She assumed that this would always be the case. But now, as the silence lingered, she began to question herself. She realized the truth you had already understood. Your attention is not a given, it's a gift. And in withholding that gift, you took back your power. Men often fall into the trap of believing that constantly showing a woman how much they care will somehow win her heart. They think that by being ever present, by always offering their attention, they can create a sense of security. But what they fail to realize is that this very approach often breeds complacency and, over time, ego. The more a person receives without effort, the less they value it. The more they take it for granted. By giving her everything she wanted without any hesitation, you inadvertently trained her to expect it. Comfort settled in, and with it, an unspoken sense of entitlement. When you pulled back, when you stopped readily offering your attention, the shift was palpable. She noticed the void, the space you had left behind, and suddenly she wanted what she could no longer have. Your attention became rare, valuable, and in her eyes, it became something she had to earn. She might not have understood it right away, but in time, she would. She began to crave it, to desire it not out of neediness, but because now it was something she couldn't take for granted. The moment you withdrew, the power dynamic shifted. She went from being in control of your attention to having to work for it. It was no longer a certainty, no longer a given. Your presence, your time, your energy, these were all things you had to choose to share. And in doing so, you showed her a simple yet powerful truth. Your attention is not automatic. It is earned. This withdrawal of attention is not about creating drama. It's not about making her feel desperate or guilty. It's about showing her that you understand the value of your own presence, your own time. And the truth is, when you make yourself scarce, when you give her the space to reflect, she begins to appreciate you in a way she never could before. She begins to understand that your value is not in the quantity of time you give her, but in the quality of what you offer when you choose to be there. 4. Rebuilding in the shadows. She expected you to crumble. She expected to see you lose yourself in the aftermath of her departure. She imagined you scrolling through old messages, clinging to the past, perhaps wallowing in the disappointment of what was lost. She thought you would remain stuck in a state of longing, waiting for her to change her mind, to come back. She thought that in your silence you would fall apart, that you would break down and beg for her return, desperately clinging to something that was already slipping through your fingers. But while she anticipated weakness, you did something completely unexpected. You didn't crumble. You didn't spiral. You didn't chase her or attempt to win her back. Instead, you rebuilt quietly, fiercely, and most importantly, in the shadows. You didn't need validation from anyone, especially not from her. You didn't need to announce your progress to the world. There were no public displays of strength, no forced positivity, no need to put on a facade. What you did instead was simple. You focused on yourself. You invested in your own growth, in your own development, and you did it in the most powerful way possible in silence. You understood that real strength isn't built in moments of applause or public recognition. It isn't about looking for affirmation from others or making a spectacle of your efforts. True strength is forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It's built in the gym at dawn when you push yourself harder than anyone expects. It's found in the hours spent perfecting your craft, not for the world's approval, but for your own sense of mastery. It's in the stillness of your mind, where you conquer doubts and fears, and focus on becoming the best version of yourself, regardless of who is watching. While she thought she'd leave a hole, an emptiness that would break you, she was wrong. In the silence, in the space you created for yourself, you didn't just remain intact, you grew stronger. Every moment you spent alone, every moment you invested in your growth, you were quietly building the man you needed to be. You were becoming more than the man who was left behind. You were becoming a version of yourself that was unrecognizable to her, a man who was no longer defined by someone else's presence or absence. The true warrior doesn't need validation or applause. He doesn't need to announce his progress to the world. He simply evolves. The process is silent, often unnoticed, and far from glamorous. But in that quiet evolution, he becomes unstoppable. In that quiet rebuilding, he becomes something greater than the person he once was. And in that transformation, he becomes a force to be reckoned with. While she thought you would remain stuck in the past, waiting for her to return, you were busy moving forward. You were busy transforming. And when she finally realized what had happened, when she saw the strength you had cultivated in her absence, it was too late. The man who had once been so dependent on her presence was gone. In his place stood someone stronger, someone who had learned the art of moving on, of growing, and of reclaiming his power. She may have thought she could leave you behind, but what she didn't realize is that in the shadows, you were becoming someone who no longer needed her to feel complete. You were becoming the man who didn't need her at all. And that, more than anything, was what made you truly powerful.